What is up, YouTube? My name's Dylan Dabrowski. This is my 240SX. In the last video, we took out the old engine, nice and tucked away over here. But after that, I went ahead and I removed the entire front end of the harness. So let me take this the hood off and move the bumper out of the way. Alright, now that the hood is off, we can really see on what I removed. Took off the fuel pressure regulator, and then I unbolted the fuse boxes, and I started ripping out the whole chassis harness. So I ripped it all out, and I had to actually disassemble the fuse boxes in order to fit them through this hole, hold them out this way. And then what I didn't realize what I had to do was remove the entire dashboard in order to unplug all the plugs around the steering column, because I had to pull them through the hole in the firewall, this hole over here. So yeah, I figured I didn't record any of that stuff while I was ripping it out, but it's pretty much self-explanatory. You're pretty much just ripping all these things out and pulling them through holes. Next plan of action, probably gonna be to remove the heater core from the inside, because that takes up a lot of space. Let's get to that. All right, now that I'm sitting in the car, we can really see what I took apart. Yeah, I took out the dashboard. I still have to disconnect the gauges I had and the climate control buttons. Took the glove box out. That's where I had all my accessories wired into. I think if we take out, you know, the whole heater core and all the components, it'll look a lot more empty and not as overwhelming when you're looking at it. So far, I got that top tube. That was sitting on top there. That was pretty easy. It was just a bunch of Phillips head screws and it came right out. Next is this bottom vent portion that comes to the driver's side. There's one bolt here, and then I shimmied it out. I lowered the steering column down, and it still doesn't want to fit, so it's gonna stay like that for now. I undid pretty much all the clips and stuff on this side, the driver's side. Now I'm gonna hop over on the passenger side and try and disconnect everything I see there, and then I'll check back in. So a lot of progress has been made. Ended up pulling out a lot more pieces from the heater. Got the right side, the left side, the top, and the black piece that goes in the middle. I believe that white thing will come out. Just gotta wiggle it out of there. And I undid the whole harness. It's all tucked away by my feet. So I guess now I'm gonna figure out how to get this dash bar off. That way I can pull that heater core out from behind. All right guys, so got a little carried away, but I ended up taking out the entire upper bar. Check it out. Got the heater deleted. Now I'm just working on unplugging some things and ripping all this old crap out of the sides. Love to see a car that used to be totaled. Yeah, let's finish up. All right guys, so I just kind of got locked in, started going crazy with every single wire that was in here. I took out everything I had, my gauges, all my accessories, my underglow, footwell lights, all that stuff, and now it's just open. This car definitely had a beating before. I guess this is kind of where I'm gonna end the video today, and I'll catch back up with you guys on the next day I'm working on it.
Several days later.
Welcome back. So this is actually a few days later. I did one of the things where I start doing a lot without recording it and then take a break. But as we can see, I got absolutely everything ripped out of here. I got the entire chassis harness ripped out of the car, which I'll try to show you guys in a second. And I pretty much just cleaned up everything. I took all the seats out and I just gave it all a quick wipe down. When I first got the car, it had the frame rail rotted in half, and that's when I met my one buddy who helped me weld and reinforce the frame rail to make the car safe again. Yeah, let me show you guys what I had to do. So I kind of threw the dashboard and stuff in here just to keep it while I'm not rolling it outside, and I don't really need the space right now. But I had to take out all of the interior panels to reach the chassis harness that was tucked away behind the speaker, and came around here, plugged into all my tail lights, ran around back to the other side. So now everything's ripped out. There is no cables. We have a fresh base to start and install all the new stuff. Here's a box full. I got the engine harness and the ECU, the whole chassis harness, the front end of it, and also the interior bits. I removed the dash bar. Me being me, I'm a little crazy. Thought it would look better if I just painted it. As we can see, I painted these two little mounts. I don't even know what they're for, to be completely honest, but now they look new. And here is the new dash bar, painted fresh black. It looks brand new. Like, fastest way to clear up some rust, paint right over it. Now I want to throw that dash bar into the car. We're gonna be careful with this. Oh, there we go. That was easy. Now I gotta get all the bolts. So the dash bar is back in the car and it looks so much better. It's a night and day difference. I don't like looking at rust. Even though this is behind the dashboard, it looks so much better. Now that we got that squared away in the inside, we got the dash bar back in. Pretty much bare bones and ready to get a new chassis harness thrown in. But we have a lot more work to do in the engine bay. I'm just today gonna jack up the car, just throw it on jack stands and prepare to do the front subframe. Yeah, let's just get to start jacking this thing up. All right, so I just disconnected the wheels. I'm feeling like doing a little bit, so let's take off the calipers and we'll get them hanging. That way they're out of the way. There's 2 bolts back here, I believe they're 19s, and then we can take the caliper off and we're just gonna hang it up on the zip tie and they'll be good. So that we'll get the caliper out of the way. All right, now I got the caliper zip tied up there so that it's out of the way. We're gonna take off the 2 bolts on the bottom of the coilover. That way we can just drop the whole wheel hub assembly and leave the coilover up there. So it's 2 bolts. You gotta put a wrench on one side and then impact on the other. All right, I undid the nut. Now we can just kind of get the bolts out of there. All right, guys, so I just went back and then tried it a different way because I was just realizing I could leave all of this stuff connected. So I disconnected the lower control arm from the front subframe, so and all this, so technically I should be able to just drop the front subframe, but we'll see how that goes. I'm gonna try and copy this to the other side and show you guys how I did it. All right, so first things first, I got the caliper moved out of the way like I did on the other side. I'm gonna take off the tie rod. So we gotta undo this cotter pin and then we can take off the crown nut. So I got the cotter pin out. Now we can take the impact and take out this crown nut. Then we take the crown nut and we're gonna stick it upside down just so it's flush with the bolt. And then we take my trusty sledgy and tap it. There we go. Now we can take off this crown nut and she should just fall right out. So I cut the zip tie off of this rubber boot so I could slide it up and out of here. And here we'll see, there we go. I have these KA24DET spacers for the rack. I was using it to try and correct my geometry temporarily, but it really got me fucked up. My rack's still in good condition, but we're gonna remove this and it's gonna be way better with the relocated rack. So now, where is it? Need my pipe wrench and we're gonna take off this tie rod. This side was surprisingly not as tight as the other side. All right, now we got this tie rod out of here. Move that on the side. Now we can take our trusty dusty impact and take off this adapter. Now that we got the tie rod out of the way, we can take off this traction arm and the sway bar. 17 nut, take off all the bolts. This one's literally already loose, which is kind of funny. So I had a little scare. This happened with this bolt. The stud actually comes out of the freaking traction bar. So I just use a bolt and a nut instead. But come on, ISR. I use like all of your stuff, but I got it off. I just held the top with pliers. So now that's the traction bar. I'll do sway bar. Now we're gonna undo this bolt for the lower control arm. I believe it's a 17 on each side. Bolt out of here, and now this should come down. All right, so I got the sway bar disconnected, lower control arm moved over to the side. Now, I mean, there's nothing really holding it anymore. So I believe it's just these 4 nuts and it should drop right out. All right, so I just took off the hood and I disconnected the steering shaft there. I did a once over and it looks like we are ready to go. So let's drop the subframe. All right, so I just removed the 2 nuts from this side, here and here, and the 2 on the other side. And now we'll see the whole subframe should just fall right out of the car. Let's see if that happens. Ooh, it's about to fall. Okay, give me a sec. Now for the satisfying part. We got the old subframe out. That was pretty simple. We didn't have to take everything out like I thought I was gonna have to. Now we got the front subframe out of the car. We are going to work on getting the rack off of the subframe. So those are the bolts underneath. I guess I'll just flip this upside down. All right, so I just flipped the subframe upside down. For 17mm bolts to release the mounts. All right, I just flipped this on the side, used a breaker bar to break all the bolts loose. Now we can take it out with the impact. I really got to get a real impact because this Harbor Freight John, not cutting it sometimes. All right, so here it is, the old subframe. This thing is crusty, dusty. But so on the new subframe, I will pull it out for you guys and show you. The steering rack is relocated a little bit forward. Yeah, here we got the steering rack. This steering rack is steering rack I put in the car after I got it. KFab, it's basically OEM. I thought it would have a cool KFab logo on it. It did not. Very upset about that. It's a steering rack. It still works, so that's the important part. Destroy Factory Racing Team. So this is my destroy or die front subframe with the relocated rack. First time I'm seeing it, and it's the first time you're seeing it. So that's the subframe. And these bolts. Oh, and stickers. They really took good care of this in packaging. Ooh. Yeah, look at that. And look at this. All right, so now we can look at the side-by-side comparison of the stock one versus the new one. Stock subframe, the rack is right over there, and on this one, it's right over here. So what does that mean? I guess an easier way of showing this comparison would be look at the side, the distance between where the steering rack sits and where the engine mount sits. This hole up here to here. We can see that the distance from here to there is greater. So what this one is doing is we're moving the rack forward just a little bit, and this will correct the geometry. Alright guys, it's actually the next day. This is where I want to conclude this video. So far we got the front subframe out of the car, and I was gonna put the new one in. I was trying to connect the rack here, and the threads on this bracket are all messed up. The bolt does not want to go through. So I ordered a tap set because I have a whole tap set and I don't have the specific thread for this hole, and I don't want to tap into a different thread. So if that doesn't work, I also ordered another set of used brackets that have good threads. That way I could just slap those on. While I was at it, I got solid bushings too. So I guess I'll wait until all that stuff comes in, and then I'll throw the rack in the car. But for now, you know, I can still put the subframe back in the car just without the rack. We'll be back when all the parts come in and we can finish that up. Thanks for watching, and look forward to next time.